On the Krug Show, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great night. Turn up the band. 49ers get a nice win, 21-20 over the Denver Broncos. That's enough of the band. Larry Krueger joined by Kevin, joined by Bay Area Baller. JD is going to be in the house, and the Niners get the win, 21-20 over the Denver Broncos. And I thought Brock Purdy played great. I thought Trey Lance played great down the stretch. Number of really strong defensive performances tonight. Sam Darnold had good numbers, and the 49ers get a come-from-behind win against the Broncos. Kind of an eventful day across the board, guys. You know, as I don't know if you guys saw before the game, but before the game, the 49ers announced several moves. One of them was that Taco Charlton was put on IR, so his season is done. Kalen Laburn, the rookie running back, was waived. The Niners have signed defensive end Ladarius Hamilton and defensive lineman Tavay Lauli, I believe his name is. Kerry Hyder went down with the shoulder injury. There were a couple injuries in this game that we should probably report on as well. Kerry Hyder had a shoulder. Jeremy McNichols had a hammy. Danny Gray had a shoulder. He left early. And it was a 6-3 game at halftime. But, man, the 49ers in the second half came back, and they really looked impressive, and they got a nice little win here in preseason game number 2. It was a very happy locker room, to say the least, and now we get it rolling on the Krug Show. Give me your guys' takeaways. What did you guys think?
I mean, I got to start off with Brock Purdy. I mean, he was absolutely phenomenal in his one series. He came out first play was a play action slide to Deebo Samuel running across the formation. Purdy hits him in stride. And then Deebo, we know he had a bit of a down year last season. Well, he was explosive today in his 2 catches. You know, the acceleration was there, the vision. So I love to see that from Deebo. But Brock was phenomenal. How about that play action where he was rolling left and he hit Jawan Jennings up high? I mean,
yeah,
those are plays that Brock Purdy makes that make you say, wow. So, I mean, biggest takeaway, Brock Purdy's back, baby. And, hey, Larry, I know it's not you, but some of the media, at training camp was kind of giving me the feeling that the sky was falling with Brock Purdy, talking about, all these interceptions. So it was really pleasing to see Brock and go out and just do what we've become accustomed to Brock doing, which is just be a playmaker.
He was sharp, man. He was really sharp. 4 of 5, 65 yards, only had the one offensive drive, moved him down the field. They settled for a field goal, but I thought Brock was really sharp. And you know what? What we saw tonight here at Levi's was exactly what we saw this week during practice. Purdy was sharp. He was really sharp. He was putting it on guys' hands all week. Kev, what'd you think of the game?
I mean, Purdy does what Purdy does, man. He just moves this offense down the field every single time. Deebo does what he does too, and they throw him. I was kind of confused why they were throwing screen passes in a game where you don't want to get your best players injured. But, I mean, it worked, and I'll love to see that during the season. Seeing Hargrave for the first time was also pretty great. He looks like his feet just never stop moving. For a guy his size, he just keeps running and keeps running. Ambry Thomas, I thought, had a good play and a bad play. He needs to know better on some of those plays where it's like you got to know the down and distance. You got to know the situation you're in. And he got beat bad on a double move to set up a touchdown towards the end of the second quarter, I believe. One thing I kind of want to get your guys' opinion on is the running backs. TDP, I think, honestly, has not looked as good as, people have been talking about during camp. But who I think looks really good is JP Mason. He looks explosive. What did you guys see from that?
It's interesting. I think Mason kind of looks like his vision sometimes is not great. He had, 8 carries, 24 yards, so 3 yards a pop. TDP went 4 for 22 yards, 5.5 yards a pop. TDP had one 16-yard run, though, and then the other 3 runs were obviously not nearly as good. I actually thought McNichols looked pretty good running the ball tonight. I don't know. What did you guys think of McNichols?
Yeah, he came in, in the second half and looked good. And Kev, I'll piggyback off you. Mason, he had that one real nice 10-yard run where he kind of squeezed through a hole. It It was one of my favorite runs tonight. But yeah, McNichols looked pretty good, but he got dinged up now, so we'll see, how long that puts him out.
Yeah, I mean, for Mason, for me, it's more just like it's not really the yardage. It's more just like seeing him take on the defenders and just popping them and keeping. Tim Ryan said it during the broadcast, and I thought it was true. It's like he always falls forward. He always gets an extra yard on his runs. And McNichols, it seems like they just It seems like they just signed him to get like a back to play like half the game during these preseason games because he's getting like a workload of snaps. It seems like.
The only thing I thought was kind of a downer in this game as far as the run game was concerned is that the Niners gave up 6.6 yards per carry to Denver. Denver ran with a lot of success in this game.
Yeah, Larry, that's probably going to be my only complaint, or at least my biggest complaint when we're looking at the defense. I mean, the 49ers rushing defense was one of, if not the best in the NFL last year. They were giving up less than 80 yards a game on the ground. Tonight, the Broncos went for 165. So I was seeing too many holes on the interior. So, I mean, Samaje Perine was gashing them left and right. The Broncos found success on the ground. So while, and I got a close eye on this Steve Wilks defense, right? This is our first look at Wilks. And that first defensive possession, there were a couple of third downs, and I wanted to see what Wilks was going to do. One of them, Wilks decided to send the house. It was 3rd and 6. He blitzed at least 6 guys, and that's when Russell Wilson, squeezed through a hole, and then he's off to the races, scrambled for 17 yards and a first down. And then the other third down on that first defensive series, Wilks decided to play up. It looked like a cover 1. It was man, and it was sticky coverage all over the field, and that's what forced the Broncos to their field goal.
You know what else?
One thing about
go ahead, Kev.
I was just going to say, for all you fantasy people out there, Javonte Williams just got touches on touches on touches in the beginning of the game, and it was crazy to watch. I'm like, this guy, they kept feeding him this over and over and over again. I'm like, this is crazy. But anyways, what were you saying?
I was just going to say that I thought the 49er first-team offensive line sure looked a whole lot better than the second-team offensive line. As soon as the second-team offensive line came in, it just didn't quite look the same. Mm-hmm. Vicky Pellich says, Larry, looks like Ronnie Bell will be making the 53-man roster. Yeah, you think?
Seriously.
Ronnie Bell. How good did Ronnie Bell look tonight? Ronnie Bell just made every kind of catch imaginable. Oh, by the way, in the locker room afterwards, I caught up with Spencer Wagee, Tay Martin, Quantrez Knight. Who else did I? Was there some? Oh, and Ilm Manning. And it's funny. Quantrez saw me coming from across the room. He's like, I know you want to talk. And I said, yeah, let's rap a little bit about this thing. But yeah, we got some good locker room interviews that we'll play towards the end of the night. But Vicky Pellich, yeah, no question. I mean, how about Ronnie Bell, guys? I mean, with the injury to Ray McLeod, you got to think that the 49ers, have an opening at wide receiver. And, I thought both Ronnie Bell and Tay Martin looked good in this one. Tay Martin wound up with 3 catches, 23 yards. He was targeted 3 times. He caught all 3 balls. But Ronnie Bell targeted 9 times, caught 7 balls for 114 yards, the longest being a 43-yarder. I thought Ronnie Bell looked like a 55-year vet. He looked fantastic.
Yeah, I'm calling him 7-Eleven because he's open all day and all night. Ronnie Bell. Now the only thing is we gotta get him to secure some of these passes because he's making 3 or 4 really good plays, and then he has one, consecutive weeks where this time Sam Darnold threw him a dime and hit him right off the face, popped up, turns into an interception. So if we can kind of mitigate some of these turnovers, Ronnie Bell, man, he sure is looking good.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a fast receiver by any means, but he does every single other thing right, in my opinion. He runs the routes great. He has good hands, except for those 2 drop passes. But after the catch, for a guy who's not that fast, he's making it look easy. I mean, he has great vision. I think the thing about his returning is I don't like him as much as Jameson, but Jameson's just so much faster, and that's why he's so much better. But Ronnie Bell,
I watched Jameson earlier this week in practice. I mean, every ball, every punt. I watched every single punt, and he fielded every single one cleanly. And I put down in my notes after the last practice, I'm like, watch him drop one in the game because he was literally picture perfect on catching punts in practice. Sure enough, gets in the game and he coughed one up tonight. But that was an aberration. I think Jameson's going to be a real dependable return guy. And what a find, by the way. The guy can play corner. He can be a return man. I mean, he's
I mean, did
he
you see him
really looked good.
defensively? He was good defensively today too.
What's that?
He was good
yeah.
defensively.
Oh yeah. Did you see him run down the guy on the long run down the right sideline down the Broncos sideline?
I thought he took a bit of a bad angle on that one.
Oh, he
I'm
did.
not saying Jameson had a bad
recovery
game.
speed.
Yeah, it was there. It was there.
We got this super chat from Swift Dog 49er. He says, I like Bell, like Trey, and Moody. A lot of potential. How about Moody missing the PAT? Oh, my goodness.
Jesus.
What did you guys think at the end of the game of Shanahan, instead of trying to let Trey throw a touchdown or run for a touchdown, he just went for the field goal?
To me, that says that he's more worried about improving Jake Moody than he's worried about giving Trey Lance reps, that's how I see that.
Do you think he just wanted to put a little pressure on the rookie kicker and see if he was up to it?
Yeah, but he values that more than Trey Lance's development. But
always drip 805 says, I'm nervous when Moody's kicking.
Yeah, I was too.
Barely squeaked that one in too. Whew.
Jesus.
The only thing I didn't like was how long, the Niner defense has not quite looked the same. But I mean, a couple guys that I thought looked really good in the first half, T.Y. McGill and Marlon Davidson, both had sacks, both were active. Those guys are on the bubble, man. There's no guarantee that T.Y. McGill makes this team. There's no guarantee that Marlon Davidson makes this team. But, man, the way they played tonight, they got a great shot.
You ain't kidding. Those are two names I wrote down, as well as Jair Brown. There was a screen pass where Jair came in, really set the edge, forced the back to go back inside, forced him to his help. So Jair Brown, he had that big tackle before half. That saved a touchdown, right? Brought him down. Broncos couldn't get a snap off. Next thing you know, it's halftime. McCrary Ball, I liked how Wilkes blitzed him. And I thought McCrary Ball's acceleration on that blitz was just phenomenal. He pressured the quarterback, also had a pass breakup, a near interception. McCrary Ball was really good. I liked Austin Bryant. I thought he had a couple good rushes, bending the edge, forcing the quarterback to step up in the pocket. So, Austin Bryant, I got him down as, kind of stock up. I thought he had a good day.
One guy that I thought, stood out in the first half on a bad note. How about that Denver second drive? They're 3rd and 8 from the Niner 45, and Stidham found the tight end Dulcich, and Isaiah Oliver misses the tackle. Oh, yeah. What'd you guys think of Oliver's night?
Another bad night from him. I mean, I didn't see all of his plays, but that was another bad play. I highlighted that one. It's like, last game he had a terrible game and didn't look that great tonight either.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's a prerequisite for these defensive backs. They have to tackle, and that was a 3rd down, and Oliver whiffed it. So kind of first two games for Oliver haven't been looking good, and we saw what the 49ers did to their lineup. They're shifting Diamador Lenore into the slot. So it's something to monitor because obviously Oliver, he's got a battle going on, and Lenore might have jumped him for those slot duties.
That the slot I think is wide open, guys. I mean, that's the job that is absolutely wide open. And with Oliver playing just okay, and you got guys like Lenore playing well. We do have Lenore spoofing on Quantrez in the locker room. You guys will laugh when you see that interview. But you got Lenore, you've got AJ Parker, you've got Quantrez. They've got options. Jameson can play the slot. I mean, it's wide open. One of the reasons those guys can play the slot is that Ambry Thomas and Womack have had good camps, and probably could play outside opposite Mooney Ward. Did you guys see on Denver's fourth possession? It was 1st and 10 from roughly midfield, and Jared Stidham tried to go to the rookie Marvin Mims Jr., and Womack got a PBU, but man, he should have picked that thing off and went down the sideline. He was all over it. He didn't even have to break on it. He was thinking just about playing coverage and not about picking it off. If he had wanted to pick it off, if he had been focused on picking it off and going the other way, he was gone. I mean, he literally had that thing all. The sideline was wide open, and he knocked it out of the air easily. But he was in position for the pick.
Womack's been one of my favorite players to watch in these last 2 games. I liked him last game, and I liked him even more this game. Like, he can tackle. I didn't think he was a big guy, especially coming out of college. He can hit, you know, and I like that number 0 on him. It looks kind of cool. But yeah, no, he made a good play in coverage today too. I would like to see him start, honestly. If there's somewhere he could start, maybe in the slot. I know Ambry's getting that starting spot right now on the right side, but is he more of a slot guy? Is that how you'd say? Or is he more outside? I know he's playing outside tonight, but
Well, I mean, I think he can play outside. I mean, he can play the slot, but I think he's, they feel good about him outside. They also have Darrell Luter, who's going to be coming back, and Luter can play outside as well. Then there was the Darnold ball to Ronnie Bell that was tipped in the air and intercepted by, was it Bassie from Denver? How did you guys feel about the way Darnold looked? How did he look on TV compared to here? I mean, the numbers look good, but like, if I said to you, rank the quarterbacks in, 1, 2, 3 in how they played tonight, how would you rank them?
Purdy, Lance, Darnold, and it's tight between Lance and Darnold. I thought Darnold did some good things. The one place where Darnold struggled was against the blitz. Vance Joseph was blitzing the hell out of these quarterbacks tonight. And Darnold, I felt like a couple times, kind of froze when the Broncos are sending 6. You can't freeze in the pocket when the defense is sending 6 at you. And the offensive line was only blocking 5, right? So do the math there. They had a free rusher. Darnold's got to be ready to get the ball out real quick. And I thought Lance, on the flip side, was really good versus the blitz. So Darnold, he made some good plays. One of his best plays was a throw to Jawan Jennings with a dude in his face. Unfortunately, got called back by a penalty. But Darnold was good. He struggled versus the blitz.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty neutral tonight in terms of what we saw from him. Just he did what he does, and he made some good throws. He had some throws that weren't so great, and did all right. Didn't score any points.
I thought like early in the game, it seemed like Darnold almost took like a helmet-to-helmet hit. On TV, if you looked at him, it seemed like his head snapped back on that one scramble. Did you guys get a better view of that on the TV? I mean, it looked like he got a helmet-to-helmet on the quarterback that went uncalled. I don't know if you guys saw that play.
I didn't see
on
that
the scramble, but looking at the replay, it just looked like his helmet snapped back. Steve-O says Baller needs one more for fantasy. Don't be scared.
That's right. Someone wants to hop in. You see this chain right here? Whoever wins this fantasy football league is getting this chain. So we got one spot open. So if you're interested, it's a free entry. Winner's getting this chain. So if you want in, let me know.
Lave in the house says Darnold sealed QB2, 2 sacks and 16 pressures. He was sharp. Trey is better when he has no pressure. There's no question on QB2 after tonight, but hopefully Trey can draw some trade interest. Okay, let's talk about that. I mean, I thought Darnold looked good. I thought Lance clearly played better in this game than the first game. Give me your guys' impressions of Lance, and do you agree with Flav that Darnold locked up QB2?
No, I don't agree with that. I thought Lance was better today, like I stated. His first throw was on the run to Tay Martin. He's beaten the blitz, something that an area where Darnold was struggling. Lance was really decisive. That was something that I was criticizing Trey Lance about last week. Tonight, he was decisive versus the blitz. He had a scramble for 6 yards. He hit Latu on that seam for the touchdown. Trey Lance, I thought he played a really good game. Yeah, there was the interception. If he throws that ball 2 inches higher, really, I think you got to give 91 some credit. I think he made a hell of a play tipping that screen, and it ended up intercepted. But Trey Lance, thought he was good tonight.
What do you think, Kev?
I think seeing the progression from the first half to, or not the first half, but his first 2 drives to the second 2 drives, similar to last game, kind of is a good sign. You know, he's progressing throughout the game. He started off pretty nervous. It looked kind of similar to the last game, and then kind of turned it on. And those last 2 drives were actually really good. I go through all my notes and I highlight the green, the good plays that I thought I saw. And some of those last drives were just all green.
Somebody just cracked something. Who just cracked something? Is that Kev drinking beer?
No, I got water.
We welcome in JD John Dickinson from 95.7 The Game, who is here tonight. JD, before we get to you, one more super from Flav, who drops in. He says, ESPN has Trey with 0 pressures. He says it's not even close who's winning this competition. Do you agree with Flav? Is it not close between Darnold and Lance? Where do you have the quarterbacks after preseason game number 2, JD?
Yeah, good to be with you. I thought tonight Darnold solidified himself as far as the number 2 quarterback job. He came out, he was solid, he was throwing darts. Yes, he took a couple of sacks. I thought Trey Lance, though, showed a lot of life after a slow start, except for that first throw to the sideline that Baller was talking about there. I thought the body language wasn't great early. But Trey seems to be a slow starter. I know that was a question in the locker room post game. A lot of his practices, Larry, I know you've been out there just about every day, if not every day. And I was up there every day up until this week. And he tends to start slow at practice and then get better as practices go on. I thought going into the Raider game, Darnold had a slight edge on the practice field through training camp to that point. I thought Darnold extended his lead, and I don't think Darnold did anything if he already had the lead coming in, and I think he did have the lead coming in. I don't think Darnold did anything to change that with the way that he played tonight. I thought he basically checked every box as far as, just having it be an extension of being solid. As far as Trey goes, he showed signs of life. I mean, he showed, in my mind, that some of the conversation this week nationally, I thought it went a little too far. Like we can debate 2 versus 3, and we've all done it. I think Darnold's ahead. Maybe some of you disagree. That's fine. We can have a conversation about it. I thought it got a little crazy this week with, it going to a different level with Trey. Forget about, he's the 3. To me, it went too far down the road of, he might not be an NFL quarterback at all, and he might not be able to be on a roster. It's like, no, he just needs some more time to develop, and the 49ers may not be able to afford him that time, or he may have to be the number 3 on their roster and have a couple of guys either be hurt and or ineffective to get an opportunity. But the last thing that I thought about Trey Lance, given what I've seen over the last month, and even after he struggled in the Raider game, was that this guy's career is borderline over or anything like that. To me, that was a complete joke. Now, but again, that being said, I do have Darnold ahead, and I do think Darnold, I won't say extended I think he extended the lead, because the way I viewed it going in, all he had to do was, be solid and good. And even if Trey was great, which I think he was great the last 2 drives, I still think there's almost too much. Like, Darnold would have had to have been bad, and Trey would have had to have been great for it to get back to a point where I feel like it would be even as far as the race for the backup job goes. But I remain intrigued by Trey. I know I've said this, and I'll kind of wrap the initial point on this. I think the Niners should keep Trey Lance as the 3. If that's the way that they view this thing, and don't get caught in the you have to trade him or Brandon Allen. Like, Brandon Allen to me stinks. I think Brandon Allen stinks. Like, if you get to the 3rd quarterback spot, you're not winning the Super Bowl with Brandon Allen. So at that point, you might as well go to Trey Lance and switch into developmental mode. And maybe by the time he has to play, he is farther along to where if he's getting more run with the ones and all of that at that point in time, by necessity, he can play well enough to where you can win games. So long-winded way of setting
that's where
everything
I'm
up.
at too. That's where I'm at too. I mean, if they want to move off Trey for Brandon Allen, that's a financial decision only. That's not an evaluation, because if you're really evaluating, Trey's the third best quarterback here, right? I mean, would we all agree there? I mean, is there anybody that actually believes that Trey's not the third best quarterback they have? I mean, he might be the second best, but I'm just saying, he's 2 or he's 3, but he ain't 4. Do we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Kev?
Yeah.
You're not saying nothing.
Yeah.
Kev thinks
I'm pretending now.
Allen's
Yeah,
pretty
no,
better.
I agree. I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
And here's the question now is this: what do you guys think that this performance tonight from Lance does to the league's opinion of Trey? He went 12 of 18, 173 yards, a touchdown, an interception. He was not sacked. He looked confident. He moved comfortably. He throws those deep cut routes, just on a line. I mean, there's no question he throws some of those, the 18 to 22 yard ins, outs, skinny post. I mean, if it's there, I mean, he can stick it in there pretty good with some good velocity. What do you think his performance tonight does to the rest of the league's opinion of him? Like, what will they be? I guess the question is this: what will they be saying nationally on ESPN about the 49er quarterbacks going into next week? And what do you think they're saying on other teams that were maybe considering trading for Trey? And what do you think the 49ers get out of this? Do you think they see this and go, you know what? The guy completed 67%. The turnover, as Baller said, was, an inch or two higher, and he'll learn to throw that ball with a little loft. He didn't take any sacks. He minimized negative plays. I thought he looked pretty good. How do you think the Niners react? How does the media react? How do the other teams in the league react to Lance and his performance tonight? Go ahead, whoever wants to jump in.
Well, I don't think the media is going to switch up too much. They've been pretty critical of Trey Lance as of late. I don't think this performance is going to dissuade them from that. But from an NFL perspective, I think GMs and QB needy teams they're monitoring Trey Lance's performance closely, and Trey's performance today was a big positive, and for those that think the preseason has no value, no merit in terms of maybe increasing a player's trade value, I would disagree with that, because I remember a guy like Matt Schaub, who was sitting behind Mike Vick. He had a few good preseason games. Next thing you know, the Texans are offering a 3rd-round pick. So a performance like today absolutely boosts Trey Lance's value for the 49ers and as an entity across the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think with every rep he takes, he looks better, and he has so few reps that every rep really matters when you look at him like as an overall. In terms of what ESPN is going to say, I don't really care. It seems like they always make sweeping judgments that are just way over the top with some of these guys.
Will they be sweeping in the other direction now? Will they now be like, hey, look, this guy's coming on? I mean,
maybe, but it seems like they don't really know the full story, so they just make overgeneralizations like, oh, Trey Lance was bad the day he was born. And it's like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah,
I think bad. there's just things that, like, it's going to change over time. Their opinions are going to change. So I don't really care what they have to say. As for the 49ers, I think you come out of this with a win. I mean, if you're going to keep them on your roster, I mean, you feel better about them today than you did yesterday.
Great night for the Niners. Great night for Trey Lance. I mean, he showed, I think, without a doubt that he does have a future in this league. It's just a matter of when and how he gets that opportunity, and whether or not it winds up being here in the Bay Area. Now that remains to be seen, but I think there's teams around the league, that maybe we're thinking, hey, we like this kid. He needs reps. We'd love to get him in our building or in our offense, but we're not giving up more than a 5 or a 6, in terms of draft capital to get him. And I don't think the Niners would be willing to do anything close to that. Now, does this mean somebody's willing to offer him a 3 for him now to tempt them to maybe make that trade? Probably not, honestly, because it just, it still is one game. And I think it's also, a lot of this is about negotiating and bargaining. Like I think other teams around the league want to basically call the 49ers on the, hey, you're not getting much for him. Like, he hasn't done much. You've got two quarterbacks you have in front of him. Like, we'd love to take him, but it's going to be for a 6 or it's going to be for a 5. If you want to do that just to get off of him or get off the money, Larry, like you mentioned, then, we'll help facilitate that. But I think the Niners now can look at it more confidently tonight and say, hey, if you really want him, it's going to have to be a 3, or it's going to have to be something, of value to us, because he showed he has some value in the league. I still, again, I wouldn't be thinking that way if I'm the 49ers. I think we've seen it too many times where the plan goes awry, either via injury or whether a player that they've evaluated at a certain level winds up not being that level of player over time. All of those things are on the table. I think it's in the 49ers' best interest to continue to keep as many positive options as possible. I just would not, as much as I would not have Trey Lance be the starter, and to this point, I don't think he's even earned the backup role. I just would not want to see Trey Lance on another roster this season and see the 49ers end up at a point where maybe, even though it doesn't look like it right now, he could have played and still developed into a quality NFL quarterback, but now he's doing it on the Falcons or the Bucks or one of these other teams, Minnesota, that's been rumored to be interested in him. Pick your team. To me, there's value in keeping him around for one more year and seeing how this thing shakes out.
Stay the course. That's what I would say. Stay the course. You drafted this guy because you liked his traits. You drafted this guy because you liked his upside. You drafted him because you liked his character and you liked his talent, and you felt like eventually he'd be the best. Well, guess what? It may still happen. Stay the course. Just don't get scared because the raw quarterback that you drafted out of the FCS level showed that he was raw, and maybe even a little more raw than you thought. Stay the course. He's getting better. The team, it's hard to find a good quarterback, but it's also really hard to find a player that the guys will follow. And Trey does have great leadership ability. I really do feel like the guys will follow him. 808 Niners says Kyle Shanahan went out of his way to make Brock Purdy look good, but Ronnie Bell and Marcelino McCurry-Ball just sealed their spots up on this team. Moore's got to go. Manning gonna be the swing tackle. Manning's a really nice guy, man. I had talked to him for the first time today in the locker room, and I'm really impressed by him. He played left tackle tonight. But first of all, let's address the first thing. Kyle went out of his way to make Brock Purdy look good. I don't know. From where I was looking, Brock Purdy made a number of plays, and he got pressured a little bit. He showed some mobility. He's throwing dimes. He's playing on time. I guess I would need to hear. I mean, what do you guys think of that statement that Shanahan went out of his way to make Brock look good?
I think that Brock made Brock look good.
Right, I do too.
I mean, isn't that what he's supposed to do? I mean, he's supposed to make his starting quarterback look good and feel comfortable and get into a rhythm and shake off any of the cobwebs from the nasty injury that he sustained the last time he played. Like it made a lot of sense to get him out on the field, give him some easy throws, move him around a little bit. I mean, that's really all you wanted to see was kind of an easy, simple game plan for a series, see him execute it. It would have been nice if they could have protected a little better and, punched it in on that first drive. I mean, that would have been every box checked at that point in time. But no, I don't view it as a negative that Kyle Shanahan wants to see Brock or Darnold or any of his quarterbacks look good. That's kind of the gist of the whole thing. It's kind of
I think where this person's coming from is they're just thinking about how Kyle kind of made it simple for Brock, like you said. So in that sense, they're saying they made it easy, but it's not really the same thing because he's trying to ease him in. I mean, he hasn't played a lot of football over the offseason. He got a surgery, so I don't really see it that way. It's one way to look at it, I guess.
one of the guys that we haven't really touched on here that I thought was fantastic, and every time I watched him this summer, I thought, man, this guy is fantastic. And that's Marcelino McCrary-Ball. He had a forced fumble. He almost had a pick. What were the final tallies on the tackles for Marcelino? Because, I mean, he was everywhere, man. He was flying around. The Niners, between Graham, Winters, and Marcelino, man, they've got some good linebackers. I mean, they said goodbye to Aziz. They don't miss Aziz at all. So the leading tackler was Demetrius Flanagan Fowles. He had 6, 5 solo. Quantrez Knight had 4.
He had 2 for Ball, McCrary-Ball.
Only 2. Wow.
Yeah.
But he had a nice pressure where he almost had a QB hit, and you mentioned the pass breakup, the near interception. So McCrary-Ball was flashing all over the field.
Yeah, what a player! What a player he is. I'll tell you the other guy that I thought looked really good. I asked Kerry Hyder earlier in the week. I said, "Give me a couple of D linemen that are standing out to you." He said Robert Beal and Marlon Davidson. Now I didn't notice Beal. Did Beal play today? Did you guys see Beal at all?
I didn't notice him.
Marlon Davidson.
I didn't notice him.
Marlon Davidson. The Niners only had, 3-4 hits on the quarterback all night, and he had 5, I guess, and he had 2 of them. Marlon Davidson looks like almost ideally suited to play in this defense.
Yeah, he was big time tonight. Yeah, he had the sack. And there was a screen pass where the D line, they didn't sniff out the screen very well. Looked like the back had some room, but Marlon Davidson ran from across the field to hawk down the running back. So you saw the hustle, you saw the sack. T.Y. McGill also had a sack on a nice just club. T.Y. McGill, he's been playing good. I am a big
good
Kevin Givens guy, but I got to say, Kevin Givens, you got to pick it up, my man, because I think you're being outperformed by guys like Marlon Davidson and T.Y. McGill.
Did you guys notice Kinlaw? Did Kinlaw go tonight?
No, illness. He was out with an illness.
Yeah, he ended up being a scratch on a night where I think he needs to be. Yeah, he's somebody that I think still needs the reps. Like, you hear all the right things about how Hargrave coming over is going to help him, and he's going to play limited reps, but he's still the kind of player that I think needs to get out there and the defensive tackle version of get out there and let it rip, get out there and just start throwing people around and clogging up the middle and using some of that size, because he's a physical specimen and he's healthy by all intents and purposes. Although the illness, tonight, it's kind of seems like he's one of those guys where it's always something to where he can't get on the field. But this is a massive, massive year for Kinlaw to put up or shut up, put up or maybe get replaced, to be perfectly honest.
Bay Area says tonight Trey made this a competition, whether Trey is the backup or the third string entering the season. He allowed that. He showed that it would be a mistake to move on. I agree. I think it would be a mistake to move on. I mean, you can move on if somebody gives you something great, but I've heard people before the game say, "Oh, they can't get a draft pick in any round for him because of his contract." That's fine with me. I'm fine. I'm fine. You got an $840,000 starter. I'm okay with a $9 million third string guy if that's the way it shakes out, because you got an $840,000 starter. Now, I understand next year's cap and rolling over money and the challenges that are just around the corner financially, but still, I mean, do you have a bigger priority than having a good young quarterback that you're developing, that you're already invested in? I mean, as soon as you move off of him, there's going to be people, crying about it, mad about it, saying that Shanahan's awful, saying that Lynch needs to go. I mean, the criticism's going to be severe and it's going to be loud as soon as they move off of Trey, especially unless they move off of him for some spectacular return. And that seems like unrealistic at this point. So why would you move on, right? Why would you? I mean, I know they considered it, and I know they'd love to commit to Brock and so on and so forth, but to me, it as much as I can understand their cap situation, I don't think I would be in a big hurry to move on from Trey Lance. Not after what I saw tonight. I mean, there's potential, man. There's potential. He's got mobility, he's got arm strength, he's got high character. Give it time. It's it's like a cake that's still baking. Let it bake.
But I don't think the Niners are going to pick up Trey's fifth-year option. So let me just play devil's advocate here. So if I don't think they're going to pick up Trey's
Which would
option,
be when? Next March?
I believe it's in the off season. They're going to have to decide on that.
Before the fourth year, you got to pick up the fifth year or not.
Yeah. So if I don't think they're going that route, at some point, if a team's offering, and I like, Larry, what you've been saying all offseason, if a team can give you a ready-made piece that does increase your Super Bowl chances. And specifically, I'm looking at edge, right? Kind of opposite Bosa. Like the trenches, the D-line has been a bit underwhelming, in my opinion. I did like what I saw from Austin Bryant today, but the edge, maybe that's the one position where if a team was offering a ready-made piece at D-end for Lance, I'd consider it.
What do you think, Kev?
Sorry, I'm editing right now your live stream or your interviews.
No problem. This team plays their D-line in a rotation. All teams do, but this team has a liberal rotation, and Kosaric uses all of his guys. You got a tremendous first-team D-line, but then Jackson. Think about it this way: you got 3 guys on your front that are studs in Bosa and Armstead and Javon Hargrave. Then you've got Drake Jackson. But just on the surface, Drake Jackson goes from barely played snaps last year, didn't play at all in the last 5 or 6 games, to the starter at defensive end. That's a tall ask. I mean, that's asking quite a bit, is it not?
It is, and Cleveland Ferrell's involved in that as well. And I think, look, Drake's already hurt. I mean, he had the hamstring. They really don't have a bona fide answer right now as far as the pass rusher opposite of Bosa. And it's also, I think, time for Bosa to get here. I mean, that's, John Lynch said.
What are we doing?
John Lynch said, day one, that about 3 weeks before the season is the time where you really want him to get in. Well, tomorrow's 3 weeks before the season. I mean, they open in Pittsburgh 3 weeks from tomorrow. And so, the Niners will be off and then practice for 3 days and have their final preseason game, 6 nights from tonight.
Is it Friday?
On Friday at Levi's. And then it's go time for the regular season. But, I've thought from the beginning, not to totally get off on a Bosa tangent, but I've thought from the beginning that this thing's a little more contentious than meets the eye.
Really?
It's not to say that it won't get done. I think.
Why do you think that, JD?
Well, I think just John Lynch's tone in that initial press conference, I think he hinted that this is a different negotiation than some of the other negotiations that they've had over the years. I think you're going to pay a Bosa tax. Bosa wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback ever. I think the Niners know he's going to be the highest paid non-quarterback ever. But to me, that's the starting point. The starting point is, you're going to be, 32 a year average, but I also think Bosa wants 120 guaranteed, depending upon how you slice it and for how many years and all of that. I think what the most guaranteed was his brother, I think 102, I want to say. So he getting a hell of a lot more than that in terms of guaranteed money. And the top AAV is 28, I think, right now. We're getting into the 30s, and I don't think Bosa wants to set the market and then have the market get. I think Bosa wants to set the market and have that be the gold standard for a chunk of that contract. Like, I don't think you're going to pay me because I'm the best and I'm going to be the best for the next 3 years. So I want this deal to withstand the test of time, to where somebody else doesn't just come in at some point and knock me off the top pedestal. And the one thing we've seen from the Bosas, they ain't afraid to sit out, and they're going to get their number, and they know that they're more valuable, or believe that they're more valuable to you, and you need them more than they need you. And eventually you're going to pay up. So Again, all of that being said, I still think it ultimately gets done, but I think this is going to be the most uncomfortable number that the 49ers have ever had to pay anybody in certainly the Lynch and Shanahan era. And, a lot of it is how it gets structured. You can say the bonuses and the guarantees are more important, but I kind of feel like Bosa wants both. It's like, you're going to pay me the largest AAV and you're going to pay me the largest total guarantee ever for a non-quarterback, and it's going to stay that way for 3 years. And if that means that, other teams have to, be pissed off at the Niners, then other teams are going to be pissed off at the Niners. Like, that ain't Bosa's problem. So I don't know. I think they wanted him here too. That's the other part of it. I think the Niners are fine without him practicing. I think they're fine with him. Hey, come in. But I think they wanted him here. Like, it's anytime your best player, or your second best player is not around, I think that's bad for the chemistry of a team that has been, so all about their culture and continuity. And let's face it, there's one freaking goal this year. It's win the freaking Super Bowl. So to not have Bosa around, I do think makes it a little weird. And I think some of this talk about, he doesn't need to really practice and it doesn't need to do.
I don't think he's ever played in the preseason, JD.
That's true, but there's a difference between that and being around. There's a difference.
I like Austin Bryant. Austin Bryant was at the podium last week, and they asked him about Nick Bosa, and he said, when he gets here, I would love to learn from him. There's something about that chemistry, about learning from one of the best defensive ends in the game. Ideally, yeah, you want him here, and at what point, fellas, do we start to panic? At what point, do we start saying, is he going to sit out regular season games?
There was a tweet today about that. I think NFL Rumors Twitter account put out a tweet saying that he could potentially sit out games if he doesn't get a contract.
Don't think he won't.
What options do they have?
Don't think he won't, because I think he would.
To me, it doesn't bother me at all that he's not signed today. Now, if I said I'd like to have him signed by tomorrow, the 20th. I said that a month ago. We'll see where it goes. How much time do you think he needs? Does he need a couple of training camp practices? Can they throw him out at Heinz Field? I mean, the older Niner fans can remember that the Niners signed Fred Dean their Super Bowl year. They signed him like week 6 or 7 or 8 or something like that. This guy smoked cigarettes at halftime. He rolled into the Dallas Niner game and he's had like 4 sacks or 5 sacks in his first game and just proceeded to dominate. How much practice time do these elite edge rushers, a guy like Bosa who keeps himself in great shape, realistically, how many practices does he need? Does he need game time? Does he need any live action? How concerned would you guys be of just rolling him out there? Let's say he signed Friday before the opener. He signs on the 8th of September, and they play on the 10th at Heinz Field. You comfortable with that?
Throw him out there.
That?
We know he's practicing. We know he's getting stronger. He's working out, but I don't know if his position really demands. I'm not sure if his position demands him having those in-game reps to be, or how long it would take him to get up to speed. I think he'd be fine.
I think he could play, but he would be on a snap count. He's not going to play his normal amount of snaps, whether he sits at 60% or 70% of the defensive snaps. I think that would come down. But yeah, don't get me wrong, you could throw him out there and he could play, but I don't think that's the point. I think you want to get him here, kind of build up some chemistry, him and the rest of this defensive line, kind of get on the same page with the stunts. It's a new defensive coordinator, so it'd be nice to get him in, a week or two ahead of time.
Another super here from Flav, who drops this one. He says, it was best case scenario. Trey should keep getting reps with the 3s so he looks okay and hopefully builds some trade value, but it's clearly who quarterback 2 is. The composure versus pressure between them is not close.
Trey Lance was better versus pressure today. All right. Sam Darnold was the one getting sacked multiple times, kind of froze when Vance Joseph and this Bronco defense was sending 6 guys out. Darnold was the one freezing the pocket. Lance on the other side was actually really decisive, getting the ball out quickly. So I disagree with you there, Flav.
Couple more supers here. Sonny Desay says Trey deserves a meal at Pig and a Pickle after that second half. Get the brisket chili. Go say hi to Damon. Go say hi to Mary. They're open 7 days a week in both spots, Corte Madera and Emeryville. And yes, Trey Lance can eat free at Pig and a Pickle as long as he says he walks in there and says, "Hey, I know Larry Krueger. I'd like to eat free." GTC Real says, Flav, if a quarterback has been through 4 preseasons, 56 games, and has seen more defenses in the league, wouldn't you look like you could put up some wallpaper? Do you guys understand that one there from GTC Reels? Am I reading that right? Are you guys getting that?
I think he's saying that since he's played more games, he should be a little bit more polished.
Well, he is. He is more polished, but I kind of agree with Baller. I think I kind of felt like, Trey. I mean, now granted, Trey's playing against the threes, different scenario, but I'll tell you, I liked the way Trey played in the fourth quarter. Obviously, the interception off the tip screen pass, but the ball to Ronnie Bell was impressive. The couple different passes he had to Willie Snead were fantastic. Hey, and we haven't even mentioned Cam Latu. I walked up to Cam Latu in the locker room, and I said, "Hey, Cam, how you doing, man?" He's like, "Oh, I'm doing good." I go, "You got time?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, let's do it." And then the PR girl came over and said, "Oh, he's got to go on the radio right now." And I'm like, "Oh, no sweat." And he's like, "I'll be back." But he's this is a guy that needed tonight in the worst way. Oh my God. I mean, if there's one guy that I feel great about tonight as I'll drive home, it's Cameron Latu. I mean, this guy's got the right physical profile to be on this team. If you asked me at the beginning of training camp, I said I think the Niners are going 3 tight ends: George Kittle, Braden Willis, Cameron Latu, and they're going to cut Dwelly, and they're going to cut Warner, and they're going to upgrade with the young guys. And then Latu started dropping balls, and then it was 1, and then it was 2, and then it was 3, and then it was 4, and then there was a fumble in the Raider game. Then he dropped another one. He dropped another one in practice the other day. He kicked the pylon. Oh my God, I'm looking at this guy going, what's going on? And I asked Tay Martin about it in the locker room afterwards, and I said, Tay, compare year 1 to year 2. And he's like, man, year 1 coming out of college, there's just so much verbiage. There's so many things to remember. It's hard to play fast when you're always thinking. You can't just react. Isn't that pretty much what we're seeing with Latu? Because tonight, I mean, he made a really nice play on the touchdown, but the guy is physically exactly what you're looking for, and they're looking to turn the page at some point down the road on George Kittle. And how do you do that if you don't have some good young tight ends in the pipeline? Did Latu do enough to be on the roster tonight? Where are you guys on this competition? There's Fumagali's having the best camp of his life. Dwelly looked good last game. Warner had a catch tonight. Braden Willis, I think, continues to look good. And then Latu had the touchdown late. Where are you guys in the tight end spot? How many do you think they'll take, and where's Latu in the mix?
Well, Latu before tonight, to me, was getting cut. He's been that bad. I don't care where he got drafted. He's been that bad at practice. You mentioned the fumble in the game. So tonight gives him a little bit of life. I think I've liked Willis. I like his ability to catch the ball, to get open and catch the ball. I don't know that he'd be put on the roster either. I kind of feel like right now, if you're asking me, I feel like the Niners would go with the chalk right now. It would be obviously Kittle, it would be Warner, and it would probably still be Dwelly as the 3 that they keep. If they keep a 4th, that's where it gets a little bit interesting. I don't think you can keep a 4th.
Yeah,
probably not. No, that's what I mean. Probably not. So it's probably those 3. I think they've wanted. I think you're right. They brought in Latu and Willis to see if they could find a guy or 2 that could make the roster. I don't think either one of them have moved the needle enough to beat out the incumbents. And the Niners tend to roll with the guys that have been around if they like them, and they like Dwelly and they like Warner.
I'm not sure they like Warner though, JD. Charlie Warner was barely getting on the field. Was he suiting up in the last 6 games of the year? I mean,
I think he was, but the thing about it is his ball skills are just average or below. I don't think much of Warner as a receiver. I don't think much of Dwelly as a blocker.
Yeah, the two of them are the perfect tight end together.
Yeah, if you could combine them.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of like both rookies more than I like the veterans.
I just don't see
Latu
it.
got 4 targets tonight. He caught 3 balls. Braden Willis, where's Braden Willis? He got 2 targets and caught 1 for 9 yards from Lance. I don't know. I personally, I think if Latu and Willis can follow up today with another good game next week against the Chargers, I'm going with the kids over Dwelly and Warner. I am. I'm going younger at tight end. I really like Willis's compete, and I love the frame of Latu. I just need to see him catch the ball a little bit, because he's got the ability to move people in the run game as a blocker. So he gives you a little bit of what Warner gives you, but then he also has the receiving skills, a little bit of fluidity. He's a former basketball player. He seems like he just got to catch the ball. He's just got to catch the ball. And here's the thing too, even if he's not catching the ball, I'm not cutting him. I'll make up an injury and put him on IR. I'll shelve him, but I'm not gonna lose. Same thing with Jake Moody. If Jake Moody, hit the uprights or whatever, you drafted the guy for a reason. I might put him on IR, but I'm not cutting these guys. They're 3rd round draft choices. I'd rather them cook on IR for another year than. And by the way, that was a big story today. Taco Charlton is one of the 49ers' biggest, or one of the 49ers' best defensive ends in practice. In the one-on-ones, he's looked great. And he went on IR today. So he's done. And then Kalen Laburn, who a lot of people really liked, he was waived today. And then, the other guy, all your speed now with Ray hurt, and now Danny Gray went out with a shoulder injury. He missed some time last week for general soreness. What do you think? I was thinking it was Tay Martin versus Ronnie Bell versus Willie Snead versus Chris Conley for maybe one spot. Now maybe a couple of those guys make the team. What do you guys think?
I've actually liked on the team. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
I was going to say I've liked what I've seen from Conley. I keep thinking it's Brandon Ayuk because he looks kind of like him, but he's made some plays. But I think Ronnie Bell is making this team now. There's just no way he's not. I think at this point, after what he's done, he's making. Yeah,
Bell and Conley are the 2 guys. I think Conley, the door is
great
open
blocker
now for him. Yeah, he does all the things that Kyle Shanahan likes, and so I think the door's open for him with the injuries. Not that he's not really the same kind of player as Ray or Danny Gray, but he's somebody that he's just that steady. Guy that's going to catch it and, guy that's going to get open and catch it. He's got experience in the NFL, and he's a veteran guy. He's 30, I think, at this point. So he's been around the block a little bit. Like, I think, Bell, I think as the young guys is on the team. I think Conley at this point would be on the team. You start penciling it out, and it's Ayuk, it's Deebo, it's Jennings, and then, at that point, if you throw Danny Gray and Ray out with injuries, and the Danny Gray thing, was that on the opening kickoff?
That was on the opening kickoff. It
was on the kickoff.
He got tackled out of bounds, and he went down out of bounds on that mat that they lay out, and his shoulder just got stuck in the ground, and you saw him come up, and he's got a limp shoulder.
And I don't know if you guys have talked about this, but it just clicked for me. Kyle Shanahan said it might be a collarbone. So
clavicle.
Yeah, like it might, and that. So maybe if that's the case, then it's going to be 2 months or whatever, probably, right?
That's
6
disappointing because obviously Danny, he didn't.
Well, they
suit
said
up against
shoulder
the Raiders.
out too. They didn't
immediately.
They immediately deemed him out. So maybe there's a broken bone there. Ugh.
Yeah, right after it happened, he was hanging his shoulder. And talking about Chris Conley, I got to be honest, he's proven me wrong. I thought coming into this there was no way Chris Conley would end up on the roster. I thought, he's just a journeyman wide receiver 4 or 5. But Conley, he's looked good in these games, and it's just I'm so disappointed that Danny Gray got nicked up because I really wanted to see him out there. And fellas, there's one guy who we have not mentioned who I thought probably was the biggest stock down of the day. Does anyone have any guesses on? We haven't mentioned him one time. I thought he was terrible today. Does anyone have a guess, or should I just go out and say?
Wait. Let me think.
Yeah, let me think too.
Stock down. Well, first of all,
There's a stock down. Like,
I mean,
what are
obviously
you
Taco
doing?
Charlton. Obviously, Kerry Hyder, McNichols, and Gray because of the injuries.
Ambry Thomas wasn't great.
He got burnt. He got burnt one time.
Ambry
That's not-
Thomas wasn't
that's not who I'm
great.
thinking
John
about.
Feliciano.
Yeah, John
No, although he
Feliciano.
had a-
John
yeah, he had a
Feliciano
bad
got beat.
flag.
What position group, Baller? What position?
We're
group?
going special teams.
Oh,
Mitch
Wishnowski shanked a
Wishnowski.
couple.
Wishnowski. I mean, he's
Oh.
shanking
Two
punts,
shanks.
2 punts, a 31-yard punt, a 35-yard punt. Like, come on, Mitch. That's one thing. Like, Mitch, I know he'll get you once in a while. He'll get a turnover off a knuckle punt or whatever. But Mitch, man, I know we're talking punter, but Mitch, I'm not all that thrilled with Mitch as a punter. Too many shanks. Like, they're going out of bounds.
Well, we looked at each other on the first one. I looked at Larry. Larry looked at me. We're like, did that get blocked? And then we look up at the replay. And there's nobody within 7 yards of him.
I'm like,
Nope.
it had to
That
have
was
been
just a shank.
blocked.
They're like, did that get tipped?
The guy in the press box who was doing the announcing was like, and Mitch, what was the verbiage he used? Like, Mitch was lucky to have that be 35 yards, or I forget. It was like, the word he was using was like, didn't describe anything. And then you guys missed it too. The guy who was announcing in the press box the plays literally was calling the field goals, and that was good, like that. And that field goal was good. I'm looking around like, what? What is this guy doing? This guy doing.
Shout out
doing-
to the late Dick
Who is-
Callahan shooting.
two. Yeah. I'll give you another one that we haven't mentioned. I thought Marcelino was really good with the forced fumble and the near interception. But you know who I think is kind of a good looking player who I don't think is going to make the team. But man, there's a lot to like there. Is Jack Coletto. Did you guys see Coletto with the 11-yard touchdown grab and the way he caught that naturally? And then he had the frame of mind to sidestep the guy at the goal line, avoid the hit. And I was talking to Huschek a couple weeks ago, and he said he's never been around a rookie that was as smart as far as his knowledge of a Kyle offense than Coletto. He said, I don't take the guy's calls at midnight. Because I said, do you share with him? Because, the guy's here to take your job. And he's like, I know he's here to take my job. But then he's like, I don't take his calls at midnight, but I help him when I'm in the facility. But he called him the smartest rookie he's ever been around. What do you guys think of Coletto? Really nice, natural hands. He needs to get bigger, stronger.
I think he's got a future in the league. I don't think
Yeah.
it's going to be this year, but I do think, and I'm
Practice
interested
squad.
to see what happens. Yeah, cut him, he clears, you're able to bring him back on the practice squad. But I think he shows all the traits of somebody that's just going to stick, and either the Niners are going to want here in a couple of years, or maybe another.
JD froze there for a second.
Yeah, I think Coletto, put him on the practice squad. He's a potential fullback of the future. Yeah, it was a nice catch tonight in the flat, turned up field, made a guy miss, put it in the end zone. Attaboy, Jack.
When I saw that play, I immediately was like, that's the exact same play that Brock Purdy threw to Kyle Juszczyk on his first touchdown against the Dolphins. It was the exact same play, going to the right side, fullbacks going out to the flat, and he just throws it right there, and it's an easy touchdown. They go for the fake block and then release, and it was a good play.
Here's a question, too. There's a guy who has been balling out in camp, who has the respect of every guy in the room, and yet, like, every person who does, like, a 53-man roster cut down, I've never seen anybody have this guy on the team. But he's respected by everybody, and he's continuing to play his ass off, and that's Willie Snead. What do you guys think? Willie Snead looks phenomenal. JD's been down at practice. This guy makes plays in practice. The other day he made one on the sideline where he toe tapped it on the sideline, got both feet in. He's courageous across the middle. He can play special teams. He's a leader. He's a veteran, but he looks faster than last year and like quicker and even a little bit more, a little stronger, a little bit more sudden. I mean, maybe with the injuries at wide receiver, are they going to keep Willie Snead? Is there any chance?
I think the door's open. I think he's been the quintessential guy you can cut that nobody else is going to pick up, and then you just stash him at the Marriott and
Right.
be like, hey,
maybe the Hyatt,
hey,
maybe
dude,
the Hyatt.
hey, dude, yeah. Hey, dude, we'll need you for week 5, but we're going to cut you, and then we'll bring you back.
I always wonder
for
how
week
that
8.
goes. I always wonder how that goes. Like, how do they get those guys to be cool with that?
Just have them on call and nobody can claim them. And I mean, if you're good with, I would imagine there are quite a few guys out there that are like, as opposed to, being out and not making any money, they'll say, hey, you know what? I'll bet you we can get you 10 game checks this year. Like, but if you just stay close by, I'll bet you, but we're going to keep cutting you if we need to bring somebody else up, but you're going to be that first call, for the next week. A lot of those little side deals. He's the quintessential side deal guy that maybe you don't need him to make the team because, you can just keep him on standby.
What do you think, Baller? I mean, it's you want to say, nah, he's not going to make it. But all the guy does is make catches. All the guy does is get open. It's amazing. I mean, the guy can still play. He absolutely can still play.
Yeah, I see Willie Snead as like the perfect guy to have on your practice squad. Just, couple guys get dinged up, boom. He's a plug and play practice squad veteran. That's how I'm looking at Willie. But yeah, he was all over the field tonight, making catches, slants. He's winning. So yeah, he looked good today.
He's looked good.
If you put him on the practice squad, then anybody can take him at that point. And I think if you keep cutting him, then you can keep signing him, and he'll have as a veteran a little more.
He was on the practice squad all year last year. He might have got called up for a game or two, but he spent most of his time last season on the practice squad, and nobody claimed him. Like Willie, like we see him playing good, but Willie Snead, he's not a hot commodity around the league.
No, yeah, he's not that sexy young receiver that's gonna, potentially run 4.3 or everybody's thought about it. They've all looked at him, but man, he is a nice guy to have in the practice squad and a phone call away. Flav says, GTC, I don't care why Darnold is better. It's clear he is though. Trey may be okay one day, but it's not even close. Though that's clear to anyone knowledgeable. Okay. GTC comes back with Flav. You know nothing by saying you don't care why he's better. He's better now. The goal is getting the trophy, and Trey can be that. Glad you see so too.
Super chat argument going on.
Back and forth. We got this one from G Code Travels Vlog POV, which just rolls off the tongue. It says Kyle Shanahan isn't a hurrah coach, and Wilkes calls plays up top. Chris is a hype man present like Saleh and Ryans. Will he be the next year defensive coach, defensive coordinator maybe? How important is Chris this year? Well, I mean,
he doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to.
I don't think Chris wants to be the defensive coordinator, but Chris is an incredibly respected defensive line coach. And let's be honest, I mean, they brought in Wilkes partly because Wilkes was willing to adapt to their scheme and probably keep hands off of Chris's D line. Like I see Wilkes at practice and he talks to everybody, but when he's working, he works with the DBs and then he'll go comment on the linebackers, but he leaves Chris alone to do his thing with his D linemen. I almost get the feeling like Chris is the czar of the defensive line. And nobody tells him what to do. Nobody tells him, to do this or do that. I mean, he seems like he's fully in charge. And I asked, in the interview that we'll play later from Spencer Wagey, I asked him about playing for Chris, and he's like, "Oh, I love playing for Chris. He's high energy, and Chris is the ultimate in high energy." 808 Niners says, Member for 3 months. There you go. There you go, 808 Niner. He says, I was comparing Kyle Shanahan's play calling from Trey's start last week to Brock Purdy this week. Do you think the Winters and Knight can make it? They fit with how hard they hit. Winters was fantastic. We even mentioned him. He had a forced fumble.
Yeah,
I think Winters, Jalen Graham, and
making
Marcelino are just all going to make it. And I talked to Quantrez. We'll play that interview in a bit. But, man, Quantrez can play the run. He can play the pass, and he loves to hit. He can play corner. He can play the slot. He can play free safety. He can play strong safety. I think the versatility of Quantrez is going to be very hard to keep him off this roster. What do you guys think?
It's like
He looked good.
Yeah.
He looked really good. I mean, when he hits, you can hear it on the TV. It's like he's hitting hard and he's making plays. Yeah, no, he's really good. I didn't
It's like
see
the
as
new
much
Dante
as
Johnson.
Yeah.
You know, because Dante Johnson, that's what kept him around.
He reminds me a
so
little bit of
long
Jimmy
is that-
Ward, to be honest.
Yeah, I could see that too. But just the versatility. Yeah, Ward, Dante Johnson, these guys can play corner. They can play outside. They can play safety. And, you know, tonight, Quantrez, you said it, he had the tackle for loss. He had a pass breakup. Big day for the UCLA product.
Here's how I'm looking at it as far as him getting on the roster. And I'll run through this quickly because I'm interested what you guys have to say. All right, Charvarius Ward, obviously, Lenore, Oliver, Hufanga, Gibson. Then you got Jair Brown, you got Odom, you got Deshaun Jameson, you got Womack, Ambry Thomas. Who doesn't – that's 10 that I just named. Who doesn't make the squad or is injured that allows Quantrez Knight to make the squad? Because I think something has to happen. Somebody's either got to go out of that 10 to free up a spot, or there needs to be some kind of an injury. I don't think there's a spot for him. I think Winters is going to make the team, by the way. But what do you guys think of that? Like, who would have to go among that group?
Jameson.
Let me go.
I mean, if we're penciling in Ronnie Bell as making the roster, then I think he's going to handle special teams duties at that point. I think that's one of Jameson's biggest pluses is his return skills. But if you're going Bell, then I think that pushes Jameson to the wayside. But there's probably a couple more guys that would have to go, JD.
This is what I got right now. I have 4 safety. I have 10 DBs, 4 safeties, 6 corners. My 4 safeties are Hufanga, Gibson, Odom, Jair Brown.
Yep.
So even though I don't like it, I'm cutting Taylor Hawkins and Miles Hartsfield. Okay. And then for my 6 corners, I'm going Mooney and Lenore and Womack and Ambry and Deshaun Jameson and Quantrez, and I'm cutting Oliver.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I think Oliver's clearly battling for his job. I mean, the fact that he was brought in to be the nickel, and he's already in a battle for the nickel.
Plus, you can save money. He's you're paying him $4 million. If you cut Oliver, and you go Quantrez, you're going with the cheaper guy.
Yeah, that's something to monitor because it does seem like Oliver's spot we all would have thought would have been safe, but it does seem like reading the tea leaves through the first month here that his spot is not 100% safe.
How did he look to you guys tonight, Oliver?
He not great. He had a missed. Do you have a missed tackle? I'm trying to
on a third down.
He had a bad. He had a bad missed tackle for a first down, which was the only play that ended up in my notes. But that's pretty bad for a guy that's on the bubble early in the game.
Justin Longker says, "How would you guys feel about Bosa for Lane Johnson? How would I feel about go to hell? My God, you got to be kidding me. How do I feel? You're going to trade a 26-year-old defensive end for a guy who's playing he's 33? No way. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't mean go to hell, actually, but you know what I'm saying. What the heck? Flav, how many times was Trey pressured today, Bay Area? Oh, look at that. He's asking the Bay.
Well,
I think he's talking to Baller.
Let me address this one, Larry.
Flav, he's coming at
I don't need to
Baller.
look Flav, I don't need to look at the box score to look at the pressures. I'm watching the game, and Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator of the Broncos, was blitzing all these quarterbacks. Okay, Sam kind of froze a couple times, didn't get the ball out quick. Trey this week, today, he was getting the ball out versus the blitz. So what are the pressure? What is the pressure number? I couldn't tell you that. I'm not looking at the pressure total. But what I can say is Vance Joseph is blitzing 6 guys at him, and Trey today is making the right decisions. He's hitting slants, he's hitting flats, he's getting the ball out quick. So that's what my eyes told me.
I mean, people in the chat are getting all pissed off. I mean, dude, Trey played well today. I don't know. You can't really say anything else about it. The last 2 drives, he played well, like objectively well. You can't really say anything else about it.
That was a dime.
It was looking a little shaky after the first throw
post
but the last 2 drives were awesome. Yeah. Sorry, Ball.
Yeah, what were his numbers in the last 2 drives? He had to complete almost every pass.
I think it was 8 of 10. That off the top of my head,
and one of those was like a dropped pass, I think, too. Like hit him in the chest. Let me see.
Yeah, he was really good, and a lot of stuff down the middle. I mean, that's the other thing that does stand out is so many of his big throws, his best throws are intermediate throws over the middle, and I feel like that is one thing that when you start looking at Kyle Shanahan's evaluation of who's the better backup quarterback, the screen that got intercepted, the one note that I had on that was, well, of course it's the short pass that winds up, doing in Trey or being the worst throw or worst play. And I just think Kyle just has this way that he wants everything to flow and move and operate. And it in many ways, Trey at this stage has to function just in a different way. And I think that's part of the reason why he's remaining behind. Tonight felt like, to me, Shanahan had, Darnold had started to separate, and tonight was about, hey, I'm getting Sam ready to be the backup. Like Trey's going to get his time, and I hope he plays well, and I'm going to give him some opportunities to try and make some things happen, but it's going to be late third, fourth quarter, and hopefully it works out for him and for us. But it felt like Purdy had his little game plan of the short stuff and the boots and getting in a rhythm, and to me it felt like he was grooming Darnold tonight to, this is how I want the backup to be. And and he kind of got Trey out there, and he's like, what, I am gonna come up with some throws that Trey hits better. But it almost felt like it was more develop, like the fourth quarter was like develop Trey time, like get Trey's confidence going, let the world see that Trey doesn't stink, that kind of thing, but in a different way than he was trying to set up Darnold and obviously Purdy.
Deshaun DeVoe says, people talking this third string stuff. Wait a minute. He gave Darnold credit off of facing the third team last week. To me, I thought all the quarterbacks looked good tonight, to be totally honest. Flav says Trey is a different guy when he's pressured versus not. I think everybody is. He says, we learned that last week. He hasn't been pressured since. Darnold was composed versus the twos. Okay, outside of the quarterback discussion, because we could talk quarterbacks all night, all day, and if people want to keep chiming in on the quarterbacks, that's fine. We'll keep reading your chats and pushing it around. But right now, here we are. It is the 19th of August. The Niners have one more preseason game to go. 10 days from now, they're going to pare this thing down to 53, and then the following Sunday, they're going to be at Heinz Field with Brock Purdy starting against the Pittsburgh Steelers and Kenny Pickett. If there was no preseason game number 3, because a lot of people, view preseason game number 3 as kind of like, the way 4 used to look like, it's only the guys who aren't really going to play on the team playing that third preseason game. If this was the equivalent of the dress rehearsal, right, which I think it kind of is, right? The second preseason game, you saw the Niner regulars out there on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And I thought the Niners looked pretty good at the start of this game. But what would be, if this is the final tune-up of the main guys, that means the next game is going to be hard to glean a lot from, right? What would you say is your number one concern going into Pittsburgh? What's the number one thing you're worried about based on what, if today is literally the last go round where we're going to see the Niners ones on both sides of the ball, give me your concern. What's your primary concern going into Pittsburgh?
My biggest concern would be if someone on the offensive line got injured, because I know that all the starters are great, but some of those backups outside of Il Manning and a few others just doesn't look good right now. There's a lot of pressure being applied. Also, some of those interior defensive linemen also are just getting destroyed on those insider runs.
That's where I'm going, Kev. That's exactly
O-line?
where I'm going. It's the rushing defense. No, it's the rush defense.
The run
I
D.
mean, today, yeah, it's the run D. The Broncos gashed him for 165 on the ground. That's double what the Niners were holding teams to last year. This was the best run defense in the NFL last year, holding teams to under 80 yards a game on the ground. Tonight, they gave up 165. The Raiders ran for 120 on them. So right now, the rushing defense is probably my biggest concern.
JD?
Well, yeah, for me, it's the offensive line is a real good point. I think the lack of pass rush is a problem right now as well. I mean, it's Bosa, we all agree will be there, but they need more than that. Like I think they're going to have to, I think, as they move forward here between now and let's say the trade deadline, they're going to have to figure out. I think they're going to have to get another premier pass rusher. I think they're going to have to get a veteran rental, Von Miller going to
Melvin Ingram.
Somebody exactly. Like they're gonna have to find the Von Miller to where there's a team like Denver a couple of years ago that wanted to give up, and then he gets shipped to a team that he can help potentially win a Super Bowl. I think that's the other one. The other one for me is Moody. I think Moody is a big question mark.
Yeah,
like he made a couple, but everyone seems like an adventure, including the last one, which if it had been, what was the last one, was a 38-yarder? If it had been a 43-yarder, it would have been a miss. And
32.
Oh, it was a
33, 32, something like that.
32.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, if it had been a 37-yarder, it would have missed. So that's not good. And I mean, I was watching him warm up tonight down on the field, and he's just not comfortable yet in the big leagues, which is like that's the biggest thing that stands out to me is he looks real comfortable at practice, and it's a boomer, and everything 40, 50, 60, whatever, everything for the most part has been straight through, would have been good from 70. Kicks it out into the parking lot behind the practice facility, all of those things. And then he gets into an NFL stadium last week and he's shanking a 40-yarder. He's hooking a 40-yarder. Tonight, that every kick's an adventure right now. And that's not a good thing, because the one thing that can wreck a team with championship aspirations is you need to win those. You need to make your kicks. You need to win. I mean, that's just been something the Niners haven't had to worry about in the Robbie Gould Shanahan era. Is just if it's inside of about 45, he's making it, and he's making it in the pressure situations. And Moody he misses the extra point tonight, which is brutal. I mean, that's if the 40-yarders and the 33-yarders are question marks, then it's a big time issue. And it's, he needs, and kicking in Pittsburgh's no picnic. You end up in that open end zone at Heinz Field, and, you can have a few kicks go in a wind tunnel in a weird way and you miss there. So that's a big deal, because that's points on the board. And we all know Kyle likes to kick his field goals and doesn't, I think, want to evaluate his kicker's psyche on a game-by-game, quarter-by-quarter basis. I feel like that's something that Kyle Shanahan, just his general demeanor, feels like that's beneath him. he just doesn't want to fuck with it because he wants to worry about his plays and the next series and all of that. And so I could see that snowballing into an even bigger problem if he can't get his act together pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm worried about Mooney, but I'm worried about what Baller said. Because you got Bosa, right? So I gotta think that you're gonna have some pass rush. But I'm worried about the defensive end depth, and the more this preseason goes on, the more I feel like they don't have the defensive linemen that they need on this roster, both at tackle and at defensive end. I mean, let's look at it for a second. I mean, the more you look at this picture, the less you're impressed by it. Armstead is their best run defender. You just brought in Javon Hargrave, but he's a pass rusher. Then Givens is a one-gap penetrator pass rusher. Kinlaw is totally unreliable. Totally unreliable. Kalia Davis has not blossomed. T.Y. McGill's a one-gap penetrator. Marlon Davidson's a penetrating pass rusher. I'm worried about the run fits inside. Who's going to plug the middle?
And they don't believe in
I'd feel much
two-down
better
run
if they had
stuffers.
one more DJ Jones type, one more, super great run plugging defensive tackle. Now, I think that guy should be able to be gotten. It's not like that they can't find that guy. There's a lot of good rundown players out there. But I think they need a rundown. I think they need another defensive lineman that they can play inside when teams want to run and run some more. And then Kerry Hyder, to me, I know he's a captain, but he looks a little long in the tooth. Beal is very inconsistent. Drake Jackson, you're asking to play a lot more snaps than last year. Farrell, is in his prime, but there's nothing really crazy special about his get off. Austin Bryant, Alex Barrett, Breland Speaks, no. Well, Darius Hamilton just got here. I think they need two pieces on this defensive line. And if I were them, the guy that I would try to go sign on the inside, who was with Steve Wilkes last year in Carolina, is Matt Ioannidis from Temple, who played for Carolina this last year, played for Washington. I mean, Ioannidis is as strong as a house. They can play him. He's much more reliable. If I don't see something good from Kinlaw, I'm not playing he looks like incredible anymore. It's like, you know what? It doesn't matter what you look like in pads. It matters what you get done. And to me, they really need one more. Like, I'm okay with Givens and T.Y. McGill and Davidson. I like those guys, but to me, they could use one more plugger inside, and they could use one more dependable pass rusher outside in addition to Bosa. And then I'm worried about Moody. Wasn't Zane Gonzalez supposed to get opportunities tonight? What happened to that?
You got a kickoff.
Yeah, he kicked off the whole game, I thought. And he's been more – I think they've been so concerned with Moody that they're trying to get Moody right, and that's preventing Zane Gonzalez from getting opportunities. Like, I think he wants to get – like, it's not going well for Moody. So, that's why he kicked why would you kick a 20-yarder in the first quarter of a preseason game when you could go for it from the 3? I mean, to me, that was like let's go for the touchdown. Let's practice punching it in on 4th and 3. But he wanted to get Moody on the board because he didn't make one last week. And then he misses the PAT, which means you want to try to get him another kick. And, and then he damn near misses the game winner. So it's kind of a feel good, but I think that's, I've already said, I think that's really, really got some potential to hurt the 49ers this year, in a year where they can't have kickers be screwing up their title chances.
I feel you, JD. I wanted to piggyback off of what Larry was talking about in terms of you were looking for a defensive tackle on the interior. And it ain't happening, Larry. And I'll tell you why. When has this team ever had like a 2-down run stuffer? Like DJ Jones was giving you more than just a run stuffing ability. You know, he's pressuring the quarterback, but this team doesn't believe just how they build this
Teams
team.
are running on
They're
the
not
Niners
going to
up the
have.
middle.
I know, but when have they had that 330-pound kind of fat boy in the middle of that defensive line? Like, I just philosophically, I don't think they believe in that. So I'm not expecting them to go sign a
I'm
two-down
okay.
run
Hey, I'm
stuffer.
okay if the guy can move a little bit. But like, I give you an example. I read there was a list of teams, or teams that that guys that might not make the team on their respective team. One of the guys was Neville Gallimore for the Cowboys, the former Oklahoma Sooner. Neville Gallimore, I think, could play the pass and play the run. I'm just saying, it's like I'm not waiting around for Kinlaw this year, hoping that he's going to, if he doesn't show anything in the next 10 days, man, I'm hardcore looking for another tackle. That's the way I feel. And you know what? With all these defensive ends they're looking at, it's pretty clear that they're going to be scouring the waiver wire in a major way to see who gets cut. And I would say, even if Bosa comes in here, I think they are keenly aware that their defensive line doesn't measure up right now.
I hope so.
The depth, not the starters. Okay, let's do this. We got one more super here. Niners Nation says Melvin Ingram, Carlos Dunlap, Robert Quinn, defensive end options. Didn't something happen to Quinn today?
I did see
either
something.
Quinn either got
he
arrested. I think he got arrested.
I think he got in trouble.
I think he either got arrested speeding or something. I saw some headline with Robert Quinn. Of that
Didn't
group,
run
I
a
like it.
stall.
I like Ingram. What do you guys think of the between Ingram, Dunlap, and Quinn? Quinn was on the Eagles last year, but he got 1.5 sacks. He didn't do a whole lot.
No, I'm there. I'm with you, Melvin Ingram. I absolutely think he could provide some pass rush opposite Bosa. Bring him in. Third and long, second and long situations to get after the quarterback.
All right, let's thank our sponsors, and then we got a couple interviews to play. Do you guys want to hang for the interviews, or do you want to jet? I mean, it's fine with me. It's already 11:17. But anyway, let's thank our sponsors. We have a new sponsor, Marin Auto Glass. MarinAutoGlass.com. Check them out. If you ever shatter a windshield or have a cracked windshield, give them a call, 415-883-3030. My good buddy Saeed owns Marin Auto Glass, and they do a great job. They'll come out, pop out the windshield, glaze in a new one, sweep away the glass. It's a one-stop shop. They come wherever you're at. You can't beat Marin Auto Glass. So check them out. Also, we're brought to you by New York Style Sausage Company and, of course, Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in both spots from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. So we're going to play some interviews here because I did 3 or 4 in the locker room. You guys are more than welcome to hang if you want to catch them right here, or if you guys got a jet, I totally get it. But let me know what would you guys like to do.
I'm going to pack it up just because I got that.
Are you
drive.
still here, JD?
Oh yeah, I'm down the hall.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, if you want to wait, if you pack it up, come down and see me. We'll walk out together.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, brother. Because we got some things we got to talk about. All right, man. We'll see you in a few, JD. Appreciate you, brother. And Baller, you want to hang or you want to jet?
Hey, I'm gonna watch these interviews off stream, fellas. I'm glad we can link up. I'm pumped up to be doing this throughout.
Hey, everybody
the
in the
season.
chat. We got 878 people still hanging in the chat. See where under Baller's name it says Bay Area Baller 18. That's his YouTube channel. He does an incredible job on his channel. I would really appreciate it if every single one of you guys, in addition to watching JD on 95.7 The Game, go give Bay Area Baller 18 a follow and subscribe to his channel. He does great stuff. We're huge fans of Baller's stuff, and that's why he's on this stream every post game. And Baller, we love having you on, man. And once again, everybody sign up. Bay Area Baller 18. He does great stuff. He does Niner breakdown, film breakdown. He was with us all throughout Warrior season. We're all big fans of Baller's channel. So Bay Area Baller 18, go there, like and subscribe, give him a shout, click that notification bell, and sign up for Baller's channel.
Hey, appreciate it, fellas. Look forward to talking to you soon. Hey, next week, just a heads up, Niners are playing on a Friday next week.
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah. I got a fantasy football draft with my boys. Shout out my boys from South City. So plan on not having Baller next Friday on the live, just as putting in my week notice.
No problem, brother. No
Should have
problem.
been 2 weeks, but no, I'm kidding.
See you, Baller.
All right, fellas. Later.
Have a
There
good one.
you go. All right, so let's go to the interviews, Kev. Wait a second. Do we have another super chat here that we probably should go to? GTC Reels. He says, Larry, in your bulky voice, assess the special teams. GTC. There's Jake Moody, and he's got a tremendous leg. He really does. But he's got to be able to make those field goals. And I really didn't like Deshaun Jameson muffing that punt. But you know what? The guy's got 2 ACLs, and I really appreciate him. There you go.
I thought
My
bulky
best
like the
bulk.
guys that didn't have ACLs.
Yeah, well, you never know. Appreciate that one, GTC. All right, let's play the interviews. Who we going with first?
I think I got Quantrez Knight up here first. Let's just play it.
All right, let's play a little Quantrez.
Quantrez
I
Knight.
love Quantrez.
And what do you think? Pretty good game, man.
Oh yeah, man. Today was great. It was good to get out there. The second preseason game, so it was fun to get out there with the guys and get back to it. So,
All right. When you're at UCLA, man, you're wearing 24. Now you're wearing 43. Where'd the number come from?
Yeah, honestly, it was just the one I got. I can't really, pick the numbers. So it was whatever. I feel like the guys don't make the number, so it don't really matter what number I'm in. So I'm gonna do the same thing for sure.
There you go. Well, you had a couple big physical plays against the run. You were hitting guys today.
Yeah.
Getting some hits.
Most definitely.
I mean, what's your game as far as you like yourself against the run? You feel more comfortable against the pass? Where are you playing position wise?
Yeah. Honestly, right now, you feel me? I feel like I'm comfortable where I'm at right now. I feel like I can defend the pass and the run at a pretty good level. I'm very confident in it. So, every day I just keep getting better at that. I really don't have a certain thing that I like to do more. I just like playing football and that. I let the rest fall in place.
What'd you do this offseason? You look like you're in better shape.
Yeah, for sure. So I spent a lot of time up here. You feel me? I actually didn't get to go home. So I pretty much stayed around here up in the Bay, train with the team. So, I'm definitely, I feel like I'm more in shape. I feel like I'm more in shape.
What, is he the MVP? Is he the MVP?
That's that guy there, man.
Look at that with the hat and the glasses all. Man. Hey, couple last ones. As far as what did you play at UCLA? I mean, I know you played all over the place,
Right.
but where did you play mostly there?
I played more nickel there. But like you said, I feel like my whole college career I was moved all across the ball. So I feel like I can play all the DB spots. Safety, corner, nickel. I pretty much fit in at wherever.
What about here? As far as where are you playing a lot? I mean, do you feel comfortable in the slot?
Yeah, like I said, I feel like I can do it all. So I'm here to make plays wherever the coaches put me. If I haven't played, I adjust to it. That's one of my best traits, being able to adjust to things immediately. So you guys saw that with me playing safety. So just adjusting on the fly. Something I do good and continue doing it.
Wilkes talked you up this week. He said you're one of his favorites. He says, man, this guy's got a great personality.
Okay.
What's Wilkes done for you so far?
Yeah, man, Coach Wilkes, man, he's a great guy. I feel like the whole team, at least the defense, we feed off his energy. He's always in a good fiery mood. That always pushes the defense to want to go out there and perform, make all the plays. He's big on scoring on defense and taking the ball away. So he bring that mentality in here every day. Feel like that's rubbing off on all of us. We keep that same mentality every single day.
Obviously, a lot of competition in this camp. There's a lot of good DBs.
Sure.
There's a lot of good DBs this year. This might be the deepest DB room in the league, huh?
Yeah, man. We got a pretty good room of DBs. Guys like Ward, Lenore, Thomas, Gibson. The list goes on. Knight. So we got a lot of good guys in there. And all of us learn off each other. I feel like each person in the room do something that maybe the other person that don't do, and we can learn off each other. So that's what we do a great job at.
Is there a veteran in that group that's helped you in the first couple of years here so far?
So we got Gibson for sure. You know what I mean? He's one of the veteran guys that
Gets everybody lined up.
Warner, you know, man, Fred, we real close on. We actually spent, you know, a lot of time up here training together in the offseason. You know, he's one of the guys that he is the guy that I spent my whole time training with, my offseason training with. So, yeah, man, it was great. I love being a part of this organization with guys like that.
What do you think of Trey's comeback in the fourth? I mean, that was a real nice drive in the fourth quarter.
Man, yeah, I was happy for Trey. He got out there and did his thing. Made a lot of good reads. Yeah, it was great. It was great for the faithful to see as well. So I'm sure the guys got a lot to show, and he's gonna keep improving. You know, on the next game as well.
Last one for you. Your pops follows me on Twitter.
Yeah.
Will you dial him up after the game? And does he want to talk ball? Does he just talk about you, or does he want to talk about plays and things you can do? How does he?
Honestly,
what kind of questions is he gonna have?
Honestly,
Tommy.
man, my dad, he's gonna do a little bit of it all. You know what I mean? Even criticize me. You know what I mean?
Will he?
So yeah, for sure. He always, you know, even though I played good, he'll definitely have some that, you know what I mean, I can do better at. You know, that's just been him my whole life. You know what I mean? He always, you know, being around, you know, help pushing me. No matter how I'm doing good, I'm doing. Just keep getting me better for sure.
Really, he challenges you,
Oh,
huh?
yeah, definitely challenges me.
He won't be like, hey, great game. He'll say, hey, man, you missed this tackle, or you did this.
For sure.
Hey, Quantrez, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
There you go. Little Quantrez from the locker room. All right, Kev, who's up next?
Yeah, just give me a sec. I'll pull this one down. That was a funny.
Quantrez is cool,
yeah.
huh? Man, he's a cool guy, and he's a good player too.
And he's playing great,
He is playing great. And Tommy, his dad, is a big fan of the show, and love Tommy. Tommy's a good man, and he's proud of his son, man. This is Spencer Wagey, huh?
Yeah, Spencer Wagey.
Talk room with Spencer Wagey, Niner defensive tackle, who we had on the show a month ago or so. So I talked to you a month ago before camp, and you had your expectations of how it was going to go. How have those expectations then met to the reality of what it's been?
Yeah, so I mean, camp so far, it's a step up from what you experience at college, and obviously it's a complete different level of talent, and you know, kind of had a decent idea of what it would be like just from what I was told by coaches it would be like, and by some of the vet players, and it's, you know, basically been everything they said it was, and you know, it's definitely been an adjustment to get used to, just from like the amount of reps you take and things like that, but it's been a great experience for me.
How was the game tonight? How'd you feel like you individually played?
There was definitely things I could have cleaned up. Like I said, there's some blocks that I need to play better with my hands on and things like that, and continue just to kind of clean up and learn from. But overall, like I thought, like playing with great effort and things like that I can control no matter what, I thought was good.
Trey, I thought, played really well in the second half. You guys are college teammates, and he had a rough first game to some degree. I mean, he's rusty. It's been a while. But I thought the second half, he really looked sharp tonight. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Trey was playing great, and obviously, like I said, college teammate, he's a good friend of mine, so obviously you always want your friends to do good in any whatever they're doing, so it was nice to see him making some plays, and I know he had dealt with injuries, and just to see him back on the field playing, it's awesome to see.
When we talked before, your pops was in the kitchen, and you're on the farm, and so who's picking up the slack? If you're here in Santa Clara, who's in South Dakota helping with the calves and the milking the calves and doing all the farm work? You got a brother or two that's doing that?
Yep. So actually, I have 3 other brothers, one older, 2 younger, and they've been helping out a lot. My younger brother will Snapchat me, and he's doing jobs I've never seen him do before, and I always got to give him a hard time, just like, dude, do you know what you're doing, or are you sure you should be doing this, and give him a hard time in that sense. But so they've definitely been picking up the slack.
One of the key things for being a good defensive lineman in the NFL is you can't be on the ground. How hard is it at this level to keep your balance when you get so many big-time athletes? You get guys going for your knees. Is it more difficult to keep your balance at this level and play the game on your feet than it was at North Dakota?
I would say so, just because the game's that next step faster. Offensive linemen got a little quicker twitch to them than kind of what I was used to seeing in college, and so just kind of making sure that I'm adjusting to that speed and playing kind of to that speed, and not letting my feet die on contact and things like that.
I noticed in the one-on-ones, you'll bull rush a guy, and then sometimes you'll come off that block, and sometimes you'll just try to bull rush him right into the quarterback. What kinds of things has Chris said to you about your one-on-one reps so far this camp?
Yeah, so obviously, like I said, coming inside, playing inside now compared to end at college, I had to get used to the timing. Inside, everything happens a little bit quicker, and kind of learning when to power and when not to. I got a lot more jump sets, so I had to deal with, trying to go finesse right away, get him off balance, and then try and work my way to a power. And then with the whole power rush, it's just when I, feel the guy that's rocked back and I feel like I have his momentum going backwards and being able to anchor, keep it in there and just kind of try and walk him back. And then if I feel like it's not if power rush ain't working as well and he's starting to kind of anchor and sit on it, then to try and snatch off and get to an edge.
In a game like this, it's a preseason game. Do you guys were you watching film of Denver's O-line looking for matchups, or are you more just playing it straight because it's not a regular season game and you're not necessarily scheming against a certain line? You may go up against 1s, 2s, 3s. What's your preparation like for a preseason game?
Yeah, so still watching some film. I watched their first preseason game they did just to kind of get a feel for the players and what they how they throw their hands on pass and things like that, and then just to kind of get an idea of the run scheme that we'd be seeing and stuff like that. So still watch and still try and go into it somewhat prepared and try and treat it as much like a normal game as I can.
Is there a veteran so far on the D-line that's taken you under his wing, or at least given you some assistance or some help or some advice on how to improve your game and become a better player?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd have to just say the entire room.
Really?
I can't just point out one certain guy just because everyone along the D tackles have been so helpful to me. And, that was something I kind of wondered how that would be just because, like I said, young guy, UDFA, just didn't know kind of where everyone would be with doing stuff like that, knowing that's a little different from college. So just to kind of have everyone in the room just kind of pointing out things, trying to help me and improve my game has been huge.
How about Chris, his coaching style? I love watching your guys' drills. I'll go down there and I'll be like, man, the music's pretty loud, but I can still hear Chris screaming over the music. What's it like playing for him? I know he's high energy and he's freaking trying to get everybody to really, he'll be, guys, gas up, you're going again,
Yep.
What's it like playing for Chris?
Yeah, no, it's honestly awesome. I love how intense he is, and I love how much that he just pours into the D line, and and all the you said yelling and everything like that he does. He ain't yelling just to yell. He's doing it because he truly cares for his players and has just a true passion for D line in general. So just get a chance to play for him and just kind of learn from him is huge.
The drills you guys do in this camp, is that what you did at North Dakota State? You guys run the loop and all the different things that you guys do in practice here. Were you doing those same things at North Dakota, or how was practice, their scheme a little different, or their routine, I should say, a little different?
Yeah, so it was a little different. We didn't really run much hoops for cornering and stuff like that. And we had some different pass rush drills that compared to what Coach K has been doing with us, and so it was a little different. There was a little bit of carryover with some things, but a lot of new different things, and all of it that I've really enjoyed. It's always good to keep switching things up and staying uncomfortable with things like that.
One last one, Hargrave and Armstead, man, maybe the best tandem going. Give me something that you picked up from both those guys, either one of those guys. I mean, they're so different. Mm-hmm. They're both really special, and you're probably have noticed some of the traits that they have. What have you noticed from their game that you maybe could emulate a little bit?
Yeah, well, Eric, to start off with, Eric's probably one of the smartest defensive players that I've seen when it comes to D-line. Just to him, watching how he watches film and how he can pick up on different things is honestly just kind of insane, and there's a reason why he's played in the league so long.
Deep sets and that kind of thing. He'll notice things that maybe other guys don't notice.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And then just him in general, how good he is with his hands, and always being active with his hands and rushes, and just knowing how to work half mans and when to switch moves and when not to, and so that's been really cool to see. Just trying to continue, like I said, learn from my game. And then Hargraves, that dude's insane. The power that he has, it's something that you can try and emulate, but that's just his God-given talent.
Right,
he's
natural
power rusher, and he does some things that it's the average guy can't do. So try and pick up on his power skills and how he does things like that, and they're great. Both of them are great guys to learn from.
Hey, congrats on the good game tonight, Spence. Good luck to you, man.
Yeah,
we're rooting for you, man.
Appreciate
Have a great rest of your camp.
All right, there you go. Little Spencer Wagey in the locker room. All right, Kev, that's going to do it for us. Good show. I'd like to, one more super chat there, 49er George with the 2020 spot. He said, thank you. Well, thank you, 49er George. We appreciate that, brother. Kev,
the other
stuff,
two interviews,
man.
guys, the other two interviews will be out. All 4 of the interviews are going to go out tonight, but the other 2 that we didn't play on the live will go out like as soon as I can get them out after the stream ends.
So those include Tay Martin and Il Manning. Yeah. And thank you for cleaning up some of the nudity in the locker room, because you know what? It's locker room.
Yeah, I know. I was doing that live, and when you're like, "What'd you think about that, Kev?" I'm like, "Sorry, I was not listening at all. I was doing that."
No, good job, kid. Okay, that does it for us. Thanks to JD, thanks to Baller, thanks to you, Kev, and thanks to everybody in the super chat, everybody for the super chats, and of course, should we play our spots right here? Let's do that. We'll play our spots right here.
Just do a read. Just do a read. Yeah. Just do a read.
Well, thank you to Marin Auto Glass. Thank you to marinautoglass.com, 415-883-3030. Thanks to New York Style Sausage Company for being a sponsor of the Krug Show. And especially thanks to Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in Northern California. Great show. And we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be on at 11 a.m. Co-channel on Grant and me together tomorrow at 11 a.m. We'll break it all down. So until then, peace, everybody. And it's time for us to head for the door. Later, everybody.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, get in.